What is going on, guys? Lowest amount of bombs is, and then from there, you basically just do math who will let us know that the 3 legendary Kanto birds are now appearing in Sinnoh, and we're tasked with encountering all of them at the same time. If you wanted to make this a lot more hectic, you can actually activate all 5 roamers at the same time, but even now you can have scenarios where multiple birds appear on the same route. Additionally, unlike the previous roamers, these appear at level 60, which means that we can actually use Crobat this time, so this should be a breeze.
Can I tell you a secret?
Yeah, please.
Okay, just go with me for a minute. What if there were a medicine that could heal, like, almost anything?
Unfortunately, not only is Crobat weak to 4 of the 5 roamers, but Wobbuffet isn't defensive enough for these levels, so this took a little bit longer than I would have liked. On the upside, the randomness aspect of what I was going to encounter next was a neat experience, but I had a different method with each bird, so I had to use some unique strategies to get the job done. Wait, this is the easiest catch of my life, I forgot. See, I told you, I don't lie. While this and Moltres might have been pretty easy, this stupid bird did everything it could to avoid me.
Chat, no meme, I need to catch this in the next 45 minutes because I can't upload the VOD if it's over 11 hours. Yes! Yeah! That might have been, chat, the worst experience of my entire life. And I've been divorced 4 times.
With the final roamer caught, I had shockingly completed a pretty substantial amount of the required tasks for Platinum, which means that we're going to have to take on a different adventure. Despite the crazy list of Pokemon that are in Platinum, there's still quite a few that are not available in the game. But thankfully, Game Freak made one more set of games to fill in all of those gaps. To many, Heart Gold and Soul Silver are regarded as the pinnacle of the series, and while it never turned out an opportunity to listen to Route 47's theme, we're on a mission. Admittedly, there really aren't many Gen 2 Pokemon we need to get, which once again shows off how crazy Platinum really is, but as you'd expect, our first new member is going to be right at the beginning of the game. Because the Johto Stars are completely absent from this game, we're forced to play this game at least 3 times. But for now, let's focus on just this one copy of the game, which, by the way, I just want to note that the prices that I'm including on screen are cartridge only. This one alone costs $400 in this condition, and I bought it on release, which is maybe the only time that I'm happy that I'm pushing 30. Per usual, the goal is to get this done as quickly as possible, and my chat knew exactly how to help me on my mission.
Put your votes in, chat. Everyone's vote matters. There are no wrong answers, by the way. Your vote is very important to me. Oh, the poll crashed. Hold on. Let me make the poll again. All right, you guys chose Totodile. Thank you guys so much. What a great banger choice.
Totodile is without a doubt the best early game starter to blitz through this game, as it not only has access to Rage early on, but through level up and HMs, it learns some of the best stab water moves and has counters with Ice Fang and Crunch, which cover nearly every difficult main battle in the story. Although in my head the goal was to beat the game, I did stop to grab a few important Pokemon, which in a lot of cases were already in Platinum, but are significantly easier to encounter here. Now, I'll be honest, I was zooming through this game. I'm no speedrunner, but considering that I beat Whitney on my first try, I knew that I was probably going to have a short day in the office, and after only a few hours, I made it to Ecruteak City, where a new side quest was thrown into our hands. Within the Burn Tower, we can meet our rival in Eugene, and in the basement, we can interact with the 3 legendary beasts, which means that once again, we have another collection of roaming Pokemon that we have to track down. On the upside, the Crystal storyline was merged into these games, so Suicune will actually be a static encounter much later in the game, but we'll take care of that at a later time, as we have much more interesting situations to deal with.
Did I just discover a bug? How did that happen?
When I caught Ditto early in the game, it ended up transforming into my Croconaw, and due to an extremely specific bug in the code, because Ditto used the move Rage and then took damage, it retained all of the moves that Croconaw had at that time, which makes us arguably the most unique and also the most useless Ditto of all time. This means that with the right setup, technically, Roar of Time Ditto is canon. After obtaining Feraligatr and doing the same bit I've done in about 6 other videos, I completed the Rocket storyline to obtain the Rainbow Wing and the Master Ball, which you can probably assume what we're going to use this on. Listen, I've dealt with enough roamers today, I've earned this. With this Pokemon in our starter, we're basically set up just to rip through the Elite Four, but Raikou's moveset needs a little improvement. Unfortunately, Thunderbolt is only obtainable through the game corner, so I took this as an opportunity to educate my chat on how to become a champion of Voltorb Flip.
And then what you do from there, essentially, whatever the highest amount of points and lowest amount of bombs is, and then from there, you basically just do math and compensate for the multiplier and then add to 5. I feel like that's a pretty concise explanation. Did that clarify it for some of you?
Get me out of the casino! While I am going to the rest of the game without any good coverage, not all things had to be bad.
Oh, wait! I got Well, one less thing to worry about.
With this add to the collection, the only Pokemon that I needed from the Honey Trees now was the elusive Munchlax, and considering that I wasn't even halfway through the dex at this point, I was pretty confident that I was going to complete this goal by the time that I was done. At the top of the bell tower, I somehow caught Ho-Oh on the first ball, and with this unbelievably average team, I destroyed the Elite Four and completed the entire game in a little over 7 hours, which to my memory is probably the fastest I've ever completed it, but we're still far from being done with this game. The following stream, I started working on getting the remaining 8 Kanto badges, as there were quite a few Pokemon that are locked to completing the entire game's story. But thankfully, if you know anything about these games, it's a lot easier than you think. Because the only real quest you have to do is obtaining the machine part to restore the power plant, you can fairly roam and challenge the gyms in any order. Through this process, I met up with Steven from Hoenn, who lets us know that Latias is now appearing in the region, which brings our current roamer total to 8, which is insane. You're also forced to wake up a Snorlax, which I caught in the event that I somehow don't find Munchlax from the Honey Trees, and managed to defeat every leader in a little over an hour. I spent a little time grabbing a few more Pokemon that are a little easier to get in these games, which led us to a very important encounter. This thankfully took all of 3 minutes to grab, but the next encounter is where things get interesting. Deep in this Cerulean Cave, we can face off against Mewtwo, and to no surprise, this is the strongest Pokemon we can obtain in the challenge, which may seem like it's the end of the road for this game, but we still need to climb Mount Silver and challenge Red before everything is truly unlocked. I spent a little time in the Goldenrod department store teaching TMs and giving vitamins to Mewtwo, which I knew was enough to take down his team, even with the level difference, but that doesn't mean that I didn't have complications.
You know what's crazy though? Is I still live. I still live the hail, and so I'm on top. And you thought that was gonna be a clip-worthy moment? It's not.
With a few more attempts, I could finally say that I was done with Heart Gold, which meant I was now free to enjoy my rewards. In Pallet Town, we can talk to Professor Oak again, who will now give us the option with one of the Kanto starters, where I obviously picked the best one, but there's actually one more starter we can get. In Fuchsia City, we can also speak with Steven, who will give us the Hoenn starters, which in my opinion is one of the most easily forgotten gifts in the entire franchise. After doing a little trial and error, I managed to track down that roaming Latias and add it to the Pokedex, which brings us to a little situation.
Oh, John, since you just caught Latias, that means you're probably out to catch the roamer for Latios. And while I do have to catch Latios, there is one little workaround we can do. There's a Martman, and if I talk to the Martman, he will give me the Enigma Stone. It's not the Ligma Stone. It's the Enigma, like a mystery. Like, ooh, what is it? Ooh. If we talk to Steven, we can show him the Enigma Stone. We go outside. It seems that Latios became attracted to it in no time. And Latios literally spawns in Pewter City.
This battle ended up taking a lot more time than pretty much any other legendary that I had to track down in this game, but honestly, I wasn't against that considering this is probably the most underplayed event in the history of the franchise, but it also gave me an opportunity to educate my chat on the more intricate parts of catching Pokemon.
What does pressure do? It doubles the amount of PP that Latios has. Or it cuts his PP in half. Okay, not like, no.
With this obtained, there was only one more Pokemon that needed to be collected. If we go back to Mr. Pokemon's house, he will give us the blue orb, and by taking it to the embedded tower in Cliff Cave, we can encounter Kyogre. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you, this battle took me 40 minutes. I really don't know what went wrong. But with all this done, I could say Heart Gold was in the past, and it was time to head back to Sinnoh. Just not in the game you'd expect. With every new release of a Pokemon game, it's expected that you're going to have to deal with version exclusives, and these games are absolutely no exception. You're probably thinking, oh, well, it's gonna be the stuff like Glameow and Stunky, and those aren't too far into the game, so it shouldn't really be a problem, right? I'm gonna give you a second to guess which Pokemon I have to go for. Go ahead. No wrong answers. You're not gonna get it. It's Vibrava. Like, why? Who in the world? Obviously, I still have to get my Glameow and Stunky in these playthroughs, but Vibrava is not only a version exclusive to Diamond and Pearl, but it's only available in the post-game island. Now, your immediate thought is probably, John, they're in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, just play that. And you're absolutely correct. I can obtain Vibrava in the Safari Zone, which requires me to wait 20 days. And if I'm really patient, I can wait a whole month to get the worst version. On the upside, they're kind of cheap. I mean, I lied, but they're kinda. This is, however, a great opportunity to grab the other two Sinnoh starters, which for this playthrough, I was able to rip through the game with Monkey. To be honest with you, there really isn't much to say about this, as I went through basically the exact same steps as Platinum, but there were a few small details that we didn't experience the first time.
Wait, Drifloon! Did you see the Drifloon?
I forgot it's Friday. After spending 8 hours in the store,
did you see the Drifloon?
Experienced the first time.
Wait, Drifloon! Did you see the Drifloon? I forgot it's Friday. After spending 8 hours in the story, I grabbed the National Dex and was able to get my bug, as well as a few more random Pokemon while I was in the area. But unfortunately, we're also going to have to play Diamond, but I can assure you that the hard part is over. Stunky is readily available the moment you beat Gardenia, so after a couple hours, I was all done with my Sinnoh side quests, but I figured that we were all due for a little reward. By far the most common question I get in my streams are, oh, how are you going to get Mew, Celebi, Jirachi, Pikachu? And a lot of the more recent games, it's either a quick Wi-Fi present or you have to go to GameStop to get a download code. But back in the day, it wasn't always that simple. For each location that the games were distributed, they were given a physical cartridge and would just turn on the game to let people connect and download the event. And while these were intended to either be destroyed or sent back, a few slipped through the cracks. I managed to obtain a couple of these to show off in this video, and I'm sure I'm going to get a few, oh, buying the distribution carts aren't actually required and it's ridiculous to even include them in the total. Absolutely. But they are cool. I'd like to note that a few of them were a little too insane to buy. I'm looking at you, Kmart Arceus. But with this, we can obtain Celebi as well as the shiny variants of the 3 legendary beasts, which I'm not adding into the total, but it's really neat that these snapshots of Pokemon history were still able to be preserved. On the 9th day of the challenge, I decided that I wasn't entirely ready to jump back into Platinum, so I figured now was a good time to take on yet another game, arguably the weirdest one yet, My Pokemon Ranch. This was basically a storage device on the Wii. I would like to know, chat, this right here is my childhood Wii. All the way back, we're just gonna see what was going on back in 2008, 2009 when I was playing this game. I named it John Ranch. Don't say last name leak. My last name's not Ranch. Oh, yeah, that's okay. Breloom, Leafeon. Way Obama is in the game. What was I doing when I was 10, bro? Who is this? Ms. Bats? Why is my 3rd grade substitute teacher in the game? By filling up the entire ranch with 1,000 Pokemon, this includes the ones that Haley already has in here, you can get a Mew. And the goal today, chat, is we are going to do that. We are going to get all 1,000 Pokemon. You know what? I think we're going to get some free Pokemon to add to our ranch. Today, we're gonna be playing Pokemon Battle Revolution as well. Actually, first, you wanna see my OG save file? Because there's something cool about my OG save file that I can show you. Just like the original 3D Battle Simulator Pokemon games, you can bring your own Pokemon in. The way that it works in this game, it will basically take a snapshot of all the Pokemon that you had in your copy of either Diamond and Pearl. If I check my storage, it should have a snapshot of all the Pokemon I had in my PC as of circa 2009. Okay, so I had like some of the Pokedex. This is the Infernape I was telling you about. April 24th, 2007. 2 days after the game came out and I got out of the hospital. See, that story was actually true because the game came out April 22nd and I was in the hospital because I was bloated. Yeah, this is the first shiny I ever had in my entire life. It was from my copy of Leaf Green. This is my first starter ever. I had to rename it. You know, I was young and I was thinking of nicknames for it. I'm like, oh, Mudkip squirts water. Let's call him Squirter. So, had to change that one. In the settings section of the game, you're able to enter a secret code, which will allow you to redeem 2 mystery gifts for Electivire and Magmortar. This can be done on a brand new save file, and all you have to do is connect them to Diamond and Pearl, and you're free to download it. While realistically, this isn't necessary at all for actually completing the Dex, we're going to need a second DS anyways for trade evolutions in the future, but like I said in the beginning of the video, I wanted this to be the Gen 4 experience. So we're including Battle Revolution, but basically everything else here is absolutely required. Also, since you can't download Ranch anymore, we're just gonna go off of its original price. Regarding the actual task at hand, on the surface this may seem like it shouldn't take too long considering that I already have at least 200 Pokemon on Platinum alone, but unfortunately the Platinum update for Ranch never left Japan, so you're only able to deposit Pokemon from the original games. I ended up grinding this out on both games, but don't get it twisted, this still took forever. To make myself feel a little bit better, for every couple hundred I caught, I took time to drop them Battle Bus style into my ranch, so seeing that number on the big screen actually was pretty motivating the further I got in.
Hey John. Thanks for voting for me to take care of your Bidoof, Shinx, and Pidove on the ranch. It means a lot since you weren't old enough to vote for me as president.
What?
On that note, chat, please don't forget to sub using Twitch Prime. It's free if you connect using your Amazon Prime account.
That's true! That's true, do it right now! After nearly 9 hours of straight catching birds and beavers, I finally maxed out the ranch, which meant it was time for the big reward. The ranch has fully reached its max level! Today is a special day, I bought a very rare Pokemon. And by having all 1,000 Pokemon, you fill the entire ranch with 999 little monsters, you get Mew!
Because you can use all kinds of moves, many scientists believe that Mew is to be the ancestor of Pokemon, and in addition to our Pokedex. If you find an egg, will you trade it in return for the Mew? Oh, right. I have an idea. Don't say anything. Don't tell them what we're doing with it. While getting this mythical was a pretty tedious grind, little did my chat know that the same day, we were going to try and get another. Although these Living Dex videos are not foreign to the concept of playing side series games to complete the dex, Pokemon Ranger is a completely different story. The concept of this game is that you're an actual Pokemon Ranger and have to complete missions using the Capture Styler to tame Pokemon in order to help progress through the events. In the grand scheme of things, this is probably the cheapest game that you need to buy for this challenge, but there is a small caveat. As most of you probably know, this game will allow you to redeem a mana fee if you beat the main story, but for some reason, if you've already redeemed it in a copy of a game, you're unable to do it again. The easiest answer to that is that you could just delete your save file, but the process to download it isn't tied to your actual save. So if the cartridge you're using is already distributed mana fee, you can never redeem it again, which is crazy. In total, there are 10 missions that have to be completed, and if I'm being totally honest, I'm not very knowledgeable in pretty much every side series Pokemon game. I probably spend a majority of these streams asking my chat where I am because I've played this game a maximum of 2 times in my life, so most of these memories have been replaced with things like Scarlet and Violet facts and the entire history of Jumpluff TCG cards. For the remainder of the first stream, I was able to complete the first 6 missions of this game and scream in agony over finding 2 more 4% Heracross in the same set of trees. On the upside, this game really isn't too long, so in the next stream, I was able to quickly finish the last 2 missions, which unlocked a brand new mode at the main menu. And so now we have the Ranger Net. That's the thing that basically makes it so you can do this final mission, and if you already have this enabled and the code redeemed, you can't ever do it again. This unlocks a final mission where the Manaphy egg is discovered, and you have to retrieve it back from the Go Rock squad, and eventually Professor Hastings will suggest that a trainer in Sinnoh would be best fit for obtaining the egg, and you're free to send it to the copy of your choice. There it is! We've got it. It is egg time. With a special animation, by the way. And there we go, chat. We have got, unfortunately, our first mythical. On day 11, I was happy to announce that it was finally time to take on the last game in the challenge, Pokemon Soul Silver. As you can probably assume, the goal of this game is not only catch the opposite of everything that we got in Heart Gold, but also obtain yet another set of starters, which once again requires us to play through the entirety of the game again. Listen, I know I don't have to do this, but these games actually have some serious benefits in making the Platinum Pokedex easier, so I'm not opposed to playing again. But do I recommend this? Not in my life. While you would think it'd be a good idea to try to get through this entire game with another starter to cut the later grind down, I can't stress enough how good Totodile is. I played through these games with Chikorita, and it's as good as beating the gyms as a fork is for soup. And to be honest with you, I was still struggling from the beginning, so I was gonna need as much help as I could get. No! Mom took my money! I'm calling her back!
What's going on today?
Nothing. Just started, you know, I just left home, you know, just started on my big day. Just have a quick question.
Sure.
Can I have my money back?
For what?
Well, I earned it, so it's kind of mine. I feel like every time that you save my money, you just spend it on like potions and stuff, and that doesn't really help my journey, you know.
Well, I don't know what to tell you, John. I'm trying to use these potions to make good for you. See, that's why.
To make what?
To make good for you. You know, like to bring you good luck. They're good luck potions, not evil potions.
Oh.
To bring you good luck. They're good luck potions, not evil potions.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So that's the. Okay. Well. All right, fair enough. We're so cooked. Between the gyms, I grabbed some more version exclusives and eventually. All right, fair enough. We're so cooked. Between the gyms, I grabbed some more version exclusives and eventually encountered Entei, which I master balled to finally say that I was 100% done with dealing with the 9 roaming Pokemon of Gen 4. With the title belt collected, I was able to get Lugia and somehow managed to beat the main story only 4 minutes slower than last time. As for the post game, I knew that if I followed the same steps as last time, this was all going to be done super quickly, but then I realized I might have a better option. Let's cheat! In only an hour and a half, I was able to collect the remaining badges and take down Red, and in his honor, I picked the 2 red starters. Eventually, I made my way to the embedded tower to collect Groudon, which only took 4 balls to catch and finish up this game, but there are still some secrets that I wanted to unlock. Groudon was not the only Pokemon described in the Hoenn myth. This place may still be hiding its secrets, and by having Groudon from this game and Kyogre from specifically Heart Gold, and you put them both in the same game and come back here, you do get 1 more additional encounter. By talking to Professor Oak with both in our party, he will give us the Jade Orb, and after 15 minutes, I'd officially captured the final legendary in the challenge. And I took this moment to show my chat parts of the game that they probably haven't seen in years. So if you remember from previous adventures that we've taken on, we were able to get all the legendary beasts as well as get Celebi. I'm happy to announce that I do have yet another distribution that we can embark on. This one, unfortunately, was the most expensive one. Make-A-Wish with Jirachi. And as you can see, we just get a Jirachi, which, you know, that's cool. Needed for the Pokedex, pretty exciting. There is one more Pokemon we can also get with this. The Pikachu colored Pichu, which is, you know, obviously it's a shiny Pichu. The catch is, this does unlock a secret cutscene. While this is a cool thing to show off, Pichu isn't the only one. By also trading the special Celebi to Soul Silver, we can activate a second event in the exact same location. It's a Pichu, one of its ears is spiky. And so with this, you get a notch-eared Pichu, spiky-eared Pichu, one of the two names interchangeable. But here is the very unfortunate news, chat. This Pichu will die here. It was available in this game and this game only. So salutes in chat to a Pokemon that we will never see ever again. As for the Celebi event, Lyra will meet us there at the shrine, and Celebi will activate its time travel ability and send us 3 years into the past where we can watch our rivals speak to Giovanni. From here, we travel forward during the events of the attack on the radio tower, and we have a quick battle against Giovanni before being sent back to present day. Now, while neither one of these events helped at all with actually completing the dex, the last time I experienced the Pichu event is when I went to the actual event at GameStop when it happened, and this was an experience that truly took me back to my childhood and made me realize that these kinds of moments are so easily glossed over when you're young, and only until you get older do you really cherish the small memories of when you were young. So would I say it's worth it? Of course not, dude. I spent $900 for 5 minutes of gameplay. You've got to be completely out of your mind if you think that. With both Johto remakes completed, you might have noticed that I'm still missing Mudkip and Squirtle, and for the first and only time in this entire challenge, we're going to actually play the Gen 3 games. These are the only two Pokemon that I'll need to collect here, so I really tried to enjoy my extremely brief gameplay in the best way that I could. I'm going to absolutely ruin this game for you. I'm so sorry. While one of you might have been really excited to see me play Heart Gold and Soul Silver for the third time, without doing this, we wouldn't have been able to experience the beauty of transferring Pokemon. Unlike the current times when you can just open up home and take things in and out as you please, the DS games were not as simple. Through having both games inserted into your DS, you can select Pokemon to be transferred to Platinum, but they include the additional step of having to re-catch them. Well, it's not like you had to claw your way through the region to hunt them down, you still need to find them in the correct biome within the Pal Park, and despite it being cute and fun to do this, the novelty wears off heavily when you're trying to move 40 Pokemon at once. Unfortunately for the Sinnoh games, this method only works once a day, so I had to use my patch version in Heart Gold to get the rest, but we can trade all these over at some point in the future. With all this taken care of, I was finally ready to hop back into Platinum, and in the grand scheme of things, this was the last stop in the challenge. I know that looking at the Pokedex, that it seems we're missing about 12 more games, but keep in mind that I still have yet to really evolve anything, and there are still some encounter methods that I fully haven't tapped into. The most obvious thing that I haven't completed are the GBA insertion Pokemon. All these encounters are only 8%, and in total I have to obtain roughly 20 of them, and a majority of these evolve at least once, so this was going to be an enormous help in filling out the major gaps in the dex. Unfortunately, luck wasn't really on my side, and this took me nearly 3 hours to get all these Pokemon, but to be fair, some mons like Shuckle are so unbelievably out of the way that it feels impossible to get this done in a reasonable time. But with the post-game island caught, things were looking up. We have successfully caught every single dongle Pokemon, which is only slightly true, because there is one bonus special encounter that we can get that is actually really sick. So by going into the old chateau, as you can see, there's a collection of rooms. We go to the 5th room. There's something specifically different about these rooms. If you walk around this room, there is one special Pokemon you can encounter. Unlike every other dongle Pokemon, this allows you to use any of the dongle games. And by doing this, you get Gengar, which is crazy because it's a trait evolution. You know what, in a way, I'm thinking we're just kind of sticking it to Mindy. We all know what she did. With us reaching nearly the halfway point in the dex and creeping up to 2 weeks worth of streams under my belt, I knew it was time to lock in and take care of as many side quests as I possibly could. I started out by completing the Riley storyline on Iron Island that I somehow just spaced on doing, and we eventually received the Riolu egg, which is the only place that we can get this line in the game. I realized that I hadn't really explored the underground at all since the moment I got my Explorer kit, and now that we have the National Dex, every single fossil except for the Skull fossil can be obtained, and as you can imagine, this is anything but an easy task. I was able to pretty quickly collect the Root fossil, but for the next hour, not only was I coming up short on actually mining properly, but I was barely finding any spots to interact with. Because the game has a cooldown on how many you can do, it seemed like I was time locked with continuing my challenge, but I knew that there was a way to pass the time. During your journey through Sinnoh, you have multiple opportunities where you can obtain an item called the Odd Keystone. By placing this in the tower south of Solaceon, you can begin the events to unlock Spiritomb. While in the Sinnoh remakes, this requires you to talk to 32 NPCs that are randomly assorted in the Grand Underground, the original games required you to talk to 32 real people. Now I'm sure you're imagining this is assorted in the Grand Underground. The original original games required you to talk to 32 real people. Now I'm sure you're imagining this is one of those bits where it cuts to me buying 30 more copies of Platinum, but unfortunately I only have another 12. But that doesn't really matter when you look into what is and isn't considered a player interaction. By simply talking to anyone in the underground, the game will consider that as one NPC, and while talking to them over and over won't increase the total, if the other game exits and then re-enters the area, the counter will update. So with 2 games, I was not only able to farm these interactions constantly, but I was also able to tap into their underground spots to farm more items. While this doesn't allow me to get the version exclusive skull fossil that's missing, it still gives me many more opportunities to find things like heart scales and the required sunstone